Okay, so part 2 is kind of going already. You've seen a little bit of this, but did you catch the mistake? If you did, it's this. I even said it's 1 pump to 1 pump, which gives you a 2 to 1 mixture. But if you caught it, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually mixed this at 4 to 1, which is no good. But here's what it came out with. So just so you know, if you do mix it incorrectly, here's what you're gonna end up with. Right? Okay, it needs to obviously be sanded, but it's still hard. It just takes forever to dry. Okay, so even to the extent, I mean, it's, you can hear it, you can see, I mean, it's hard. It's hardened up, so it's not the end of the world. But rather than the 16 to 20 hour dry time, you're looking more like 4 to 5 days. Okay, so again, it's not the end of the world. You're not, you didn't ruin your project. Okay, it's still going to harden up. It's just going to take forever. Okay, so we're going to redo this one with the legitimate 2 to 1 mixture, aka the 1 pump to 1 pump mixture. Before I do it, I'm going to sand it down real nice and smooth. Try not to burn through any of this carbon fiber. And I'll go for a little better look, hopefully, than what it is now. So round 2 with the second coat. We're moving on. I got my helper here. Let's do it. You ready? The second coat goes on. Scuffed it up. You can see got a lot of gaps, right? So using a block, I just kind of wrapped it around this block here, sanded it flat. It is flat. These pieces you can't. All right, so these have a little weird curve to them because it kind of follows that angle of the dash panel there. I'm gonna sand this one up, so there's the difference in the two. This is one that's unsanded versus the one that is sanded. And I'm gonna put this up and make it go really fast so you don't have to watch the painstaking process. And we're gonna go 1 pump to 1 pump, which is 2 to 1. 1 pump, 1 pump, 2 to 1. Got it? Okay, let's see if I can get it this time. By the way, when you mix up some epoxy, don't do what I did last time. Wear a pair of gloves. I don't care if you think, oh, I don't need them. All right, He-Man, put some gloves on. It's epoxy, it's super sticky, and it is really, really hard to get off. So make the investment at the dollar store. Put on a pair of gloves. Let's go. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to day 3 now of the epoxy project for the carbon fiber panels on the boat that's behind me. Day 3, I know this is a 16 to 20 hour cure time on a lot of this stuff, but I'm waiting pretty much a full 24 in between it just to give it a little more time to harden up. I'll tell you what I'm doing as well. These panels, as you remember from the last videos here, it's in the garage right now, and it's cold. It's early March, mid-March, I guess now. And temps are, right now, they're down in the 40s. So the cure time is really, really lengthy. So what I'm doing is letting them sit out here with the heater on in the garage until they quit dripping. Very key to this if you want to stay married. Let them quit dripping, and then I'm taking all of them inside and setting them on the top of the refrigerator where it's nice and warm and climate controlled, and letting them sit there for the remaining cure time, whatever that may be. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what I've got now for the last round, and then I've got a lot of cleanup to do, and also one more little quick thing to kind of figure out before I continue on with the final coat of epoxy, but hopefully is the final coat of epoxy. So here we go. The last thing I've got to do, we're gonna sand it down again, and you can tell from the last one to this one, this is way smoother. Still gonna hit it again with a block of some description that's nice and flat. Sand it down, you know, with the sandpaper here, but sand it down where it's nice and flat and give a good surface to go on. These I'm just gonna have to kind of knock the bubbles off. You can kind of see one here, you know, a couple here. And here's the thing, this is not a brand new boat. This is a 1998 model boat, okay? So we're not going showroom quality. It's not gonna be showroom quality, but it's gonna look a little nicer than what we had, and that was the goal in the first place. So I'm gonna get these cleaned up, sanded up. I'm also going to knock everything off the back. So all of the extra, the excess, I should say. Let me go ahead and get that all trimmed up. And the last thing I'm gonna do is the gauges. I'm going to figure out how the gauges work. And I'll show you that here in just a second on this. The problem that I've got is that these, let me just flip it so you can see one versus the other. The gauges I've got fit just barely inside that plastic ring on the original piece, okay? All right, so here you're gonna see me pointing around quite a bit at what I thought I was gonna end up doing. So we're gonna skip ahead. Here's the end result right here. Now you can see that the gauges are sitting a lot farther out than I thought they were going to. What this ended up doing was basically just wasting a ton of time. So just take a look at the little curve that's right around in there. And as long as it looks good around the edge, at least for my application, sitting them deep inside that hole was going to cause a lot more work than was really necessary. So you've got other options to play with. Maybe explore those options before you waste a ton of time like I did. And you end up with a decent result anyway. So just something to think about. This next time you see these panels, these will be trimmed up. All the excess will be trimmed up. The center will be cut out of this. All the excess on the back of this one will be cut. And we're just wiping it all out, getting ready for hopefully the last coat. Then we can finally, after several days of this thing being torn apart, we can finally get the boat put back together and hopefully hit the water here pretty soon. Okay, here it is, round 3, final round, hopefully. Let's go. Last 3 are done, all sanded, ready to go, trimmed up, sanded around the edges. I will say this, whenever I get it done, I'm gonna have to sand this again to kind of get a little bit of a bevel to get it to go in the slots. But they're ready to go. I know this one looks pretty hairy, but it's actually functioning right. Holes drilled out for the power button. The panel is done here. Everything is nice and smooth. I sanded it first with 100 grit, and I know a lot of people are going to cringe at this. 100 grit, followed it up with 320 grit to give it a really smooth finish. I also alternated directions a lot to try to eliminate the swirls. You got a lot, don't get me wrong here, but they do go away pretty easy. So here we go. Remember, 1 pump to 1 pump gives you a 2 to 1, and if you forget that, well, it's not my fault. You watched the video. My goodness, I've said it a bunch. But 1 pump to 1 pump, 2 to 1 mixture. Let's get it done. Get this project over with so we can move on to something else. Ready? And cue the time lapse. All right, if you look here, you can see a pretty big mistake. See all the divots in all the epoxy? Yep, that's not from poor application, that's from poor preparation. Okay, so what that's from, you can see it right there on the top of that piece as well. What that is from is actually contaminants in the brush. I tried to reuse an old brush, and also contaminants in the container. Tried to reuse an old container as well. So as a result, you have these little pits. It's actually old pieces of epoxy that sat in there, and it was not able to level it out. So that was a big mistake on my part. Stay tuned and watch the next part to this video. It's going to be the wet sanding process. If you're looking at this thinking, wow, that is terrible, why did I waste my time getting here? You're exactly right. It does look really bad. And I will tell you that as a result of the wet sanding, that was not a successful venture either, so it ended up getting a whole other epoxy coat on top of this one, so it does look a lot better now. So if you get anything out of these videos, please let me know in the comment section below. This is not a topic that I could research very well, so it's kind of a lot of trial and error on my part. I hope you get something out of it. So the next part, like I said, is wet sanding. You'll see the end of that. Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for me. That would be awesome. Be it for this video. Stay tuned. I'll do a part 3 now. of the assembly of all these parts, putting everything back together, all the clamps, all the wires, the plate, everything. And then it will be done, thank goodness. And then we'll go fishing. So hope you enjoyed it so far. Stay tuned for part 3. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.